Hey everyone, welcome to Alexander James Guitars. Today we're starting a new segment called Make It Mondays, where I take you along on things I've got going on in the shop. So I'm a little ahead on this project, so I apologize for having all these parts already ready to go and you didn't get to see them. I'll try and go through what I did with them. So what I have here is a new model. It's my Ethos model, but in an archtop. So the sides and the top and back are very thin, as you can see here. This is how thin they are. It's supposed to be like an archtop hollow body style guitar. But what I'm going to do with this one's made out of poplar. And this one is going to be a guitar I've wanted to do for a very long time. A fretless guitar. The reason why I'm using this is because this poplar guitar was originally just supposed to be a prototype, but it turned out perfectly fine, and now there's no reason to not use this, so I'm going to make a fretless guitar with this body. I've got the head plate here, piece of ebony. I got the fretboard here. I'm going to use this for the fretless fretboard. And then right here, I've got a cherry neck blank for the Ethos model, and I'm going to use this. Again, this was the same thing. Prototype, turned out perfectly fine, so I might as well use this. I'm aiming for a super light guitar. I also wanted to show you this. This right here is the ebony top version. That's why I did the prototype, because I was going to run this next. So this is the ebony topped version. It's got a mahogany back. This I'll show you in a whole different Make It Monday. But for this, we're going to be doing the Make It Monday series right now on this fretless arch-topped Ethos. In terms of construction for this guitar, what I did was I took 2-inch thick poplar and I put it on my CNC, routed it all out, and then had about a 1-inch thick top piece of poplar. I flipped it over on the CNC, routed it all out, and then glued it onto the 2-inch thick poplar. And about here is the seam. Now the arching is pretty drastic here, so that's why there seems to be only 1/8 of an inch right here. But that's basically how I did this. I'll try and post up some pictures so that you could see the process. So this right here is my CNC, and this is my fixture board. I use bolts to hold down parts onto the fixture board, and I use locating pins to locate where the pieces have to go. First step here is I want to put the fretboard on. I want to radius it on the CNC, and then slot it. Now, I know we're doing a fretless here, so you might think, why are we slotting it? The reason is, I'm no fretless player, so I need the lines to help me know where to play. Now, much later on, it might be something where if I play this fretless guitar all the time, I won't need those, and then you can just go with a straight up radius fretboard and that is it. But that takes practice, so for right now, and on this guitar, we're going to be putting in the fret lines, gluing in veneer later to those fret lines so that they act as place markers to where you are. So first off, I take some pins, I will put them into the fixture board here. There's some construction noises going on, if you can hear them. There's a whole bunch of construction going on outside. And now I'm going to locate, and it can be quite tricky, but I'm going to locate this fretboard on here. Try and line it up. Now we bolt it down. There's the radius done. And now it's time to slot this fretboard with this super tiny router bit. So now we have the fretboard off the CNC and it's rough cut out. I've left some tabs here so that the fretboard didn't fling off when it was being cut on the CNC. So I'm just going to cut those and free it from the waste material here. Now these little tabs here I have to trim off. You have to do it very carefully because you don't want to trim too far and then hit the edge of the fretboard. This is cut out close to finish on the edge here, so we don't want to wreck that. I'm just using a razor blade and slowly just whittling away these tabs. And so here's the fretboard test fitted on the neck. Looks great. Next up, I need to do the veneer lines in the fret slots. And I also need to put a truss rod in this neck. So before we do the fretboard and the fret lines, let's put a truss rod in the neck. So what I need to do first is I need to tape off all of the gluable area here, because I'm going to be using silicone to seat the truss rod, and I don't want to get any silicone on the gluable surface. So I'm just going to use some green tape and run it along the top here. Now that I've got the green tape on, I'm going to run a very thin bead of silicone all the way through the bottom of the slot. This is very flexible silicone. The reason I do this is because I don't want this truss rod to rattle through years of use and whatnot. I will also run a thin bead of silicone on the top so the truss rod won't rattle against the fretboard. You want the truss rod loose, and now I'm going to insert it. Butt it up against the back of the neck slot, push it down, let it drop, seat it right to the bottom. Then you can see there's this gap here, and that's now what I want to fill with silicone. These things can be so hard to squeeze out. I'm going to take a razor blade or a piece of wood or something and use it as a squeegee to lay this silicone down flat. And if you have any spots where it doesn't fill in, just go back over them. And if you need to, go back in and put a little bit more in. This is more of like a preventative step later on, you know, when your guitar is like 20 years old or something or more. Just stops annoying problems later on. There we go. Now let this dry, and then we'll be on to the next step.